All right, so let's go ahead and do the roll call then. You want to go ahead, Andrea?
Sure. Phil?
Here, present.
Excellent. Stephen?
Here.
Jerry Lee?
Here.
Donna?
Present.
And Mario?
Here.
Thank you.
Great, thanks, everybody. Thanks for attending and for your patience. Okay, we are going to start with the approval of the agenda. Does anyone have any changes to the agenda?
This is Jerry Lee. I'd like to add a very
Yes.
brief 5G cell tower update after the Arboretum update.
Sure, Jerry Lee. Well, I'll pencil you in. Are all council members in favor of that?
Fine with me.
If there's anyone who says no, please speak up. Otherwise, we'll assume it's a unanimous agreement. Sounds like unanimous. Okay, Jerry Lee, I'll put you in under Arboretum, after Arboretum, okay?
Thank you.
All right. Just so everybody knows, a lot of things you may think we don't need to do because we can either see each other visually or not, but the meeting is being taped orally. So it's important that we still go through certain protocols just so we have it recorded. So I got 5G cell under Arboretum for Jerry Lee, and everybody has approved that. With that, so with the approval, with that change, we're all in agreement. Anybody says no? Anything else for a change on the agenda? Okay, great. All right, we're approving the agenda with that 5G cell change. Thank you. Next is, it's 7:35. Approval of the minutes. Do we have any changes to the minutes? I don't hear anything.
Not for me.
So,
No.
okay, thanks, Mario. So I will assume that the minutes are approved. If somebody can at least say yes, approved, that'll work for me. Mario, you had said you didn't have changes, so it's
Right.
it's approved.
Approved.
Okay.
Yep.
We'll we'll take it as unanimous then. Okay.
Approved.
Okay, so we are moving a little bit fast. I don't know if John Cherky is on. He is out. I don't know if it's West Virginia or where. So we may come back to him, folks, if he's available to talk about FlexiPave. All right. Is there anybody else by residents in attendance who would like to make a presentation? Okay, I don't hear anything. We will move on, but know that we may hear from John Cherky if he calls in, okay?
That's
And I
fine.
will intercept that call and put it in the meeting. Okay, action item. Looks like Andrea and Stephen, would you like to talk about this action item for demolition?
Sure. Andrea, you want to kick it off and then have me follow, or do you want me to cover it?
Sure. If you can just cover it. The only thing I would be saying would just is the item. So go for it.
Okay. Yeah, it's just okay. Just a little bit of background. There's a demolition request for I don't have the address handy. Let me pull it
Oh,
up. There we go.
11112 Kenilworth.
Okay, 11112 Kenilworth, which was, I think, affectionately called the Vulture House by a few people for a little while. The reason why is property was bought, I can't remember how many years ago, 3, 4, 5, by a couple, and they were renovating the house. All the siding was removed, the windows were mostly removed or all removed, the site was mostly cleared of trees, and it kind of left the house prone to weather degradation. Those owners were delayed in their renovation and then decided not to finish it. Instead, put the property up for sale. Some Garrett Park residents bought the property, and my understanding is plan to develop their own house. They'll need to clear out the house, which unfortunately, while it was a Victorian home, It was mentioned in the application for the National Register of Historic Places Historic District. It's, you know, pretty clearly it's too far degraded from the couple years it's sat out in the rain and snow. So with all that, the Historic Preservation Committee reviewed it. They would like to photograph any architectural elements that may remain that could be kept for archival records. My understanding is owners are fine with that, but noted that there are some potentially dangerous conditions because the house has been sitting out there. And the owners had shared some previously taken photos of the home, a fireplace, et cetera, et cetera. So just noting that with the amount of, in the end of it, with the amount of weather degradation, the Historic Preservation Committee and the Land Use Advisory Committee both recommended approving demolition for this. So it's up for a council vote to concur or not concur with that. So with that, I guess I would move to approve this for demolition.
I'd like to just intercept this a moment. Stephen, is there anything that the Parkers would like to say since they're on the call?
Thank you.
Yep. Stephen, I think
yeah, go ahead.
I think you captured everything pretty succinctly. So yes, we're currently residents 10 doors down. We love Garrett Park and we want to move to the new house that we're going to build at 111 12. So we have our builders on the call, Jim Gramuel of Rembrandt Builders and Christina Gramuel. So we're happy to get someone in there to take pictures. I would need to come down there. The door is screwed on, so I'd have to take the plywood off and let someone in during daytime. We have no electricity there, so yeah, it's a shame that we're in this position where the house has to come down, but it has to come down. So I think that's it for me. Do you have anything?
Thanks for that. Okay. Yeah, I meant to kick it to you earlier. And thanks, Kaki, for reminding. And I guess what's the best way to coordinate? Should the whoever wants the photograph, should they just get in touch with the town office and they get in touch with you? And
I've got an email from, now I forget what her name was already.
Nancy
Probably.
Wall,
Yeah.
probably. Okay.
Yeah.
And she was hoping to get in last week, but Chris was out of town, and it's really like there's nothing to stand on. So when you take the plywood off, it's very heavy and you have to unscrew it all the way around. So it's not something we could just, let me just go let her in. But and once you get in there, it's dark and there's lots of tripping hazards and places to fall. And so it's a little scary, I thought anyway. And then to have somebody else in there, I just thought if somebody got hurt, I would just feel terrible. So I was a little nervous about it, but at some point, we'll take the door off, and I can certainly, take pictures and forward them. I don't know why I didn't take more when I was there last time. I only took 2.
You call us and we'll take the door off.
Stephen, who's asking for the pictures? Because the last thing I want to do is put someone in a situation where they are liable, the town is liable, and I don't certainly want the folks who are the homeowners to be liable for something that could quite frankly be avoided. So that's your call in terms of you want the folks in. I don't feel strongly about that. I think I'd rather avoid the liability if someone, particularly someone who's not stable.
An alternative is you could tell us what sort of pictures you want and we can take them and give them to you.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe just as well with an iPhone, if you're already going to have a contractor in there setting up to take it down. If you're amenable to that, that could be a good solve, because you'll be probably laying down plywood just to be able to get contractors around anyway.
It's not as dangerous as Pam is letting on.
Yeah.
I just stayed right in the foyer. He went up around, but the railings are falling,
You're welcome to send a photographer or just tell me what you want to see and I can just take those pictures.
It's a pretty empty shell though inside, isn't it?
There's studs for the walls. There's a floor. You cannot get to the basement. There's no stairs to the basement. You can get to the second and third levels,
Well,
but again,
because it's not a historical home on the register, I'm wondering why if there's nothing really in there to take photos of, Stephen, why do we need to do that?
I think
I can imagine if there are pieces, is there any fireplace hearth, or is there anything like that maybe?
There's a railing.
Okay.
In fact,
Okay, all right.
It probably
last time
wouldn't
we
be
were
more
there, we
than that.
took this out.
Mhm.
It's just little,
Okay.
like little carvings and stuff, so.
Okay, well, maybe that's kind of nice to take if your contractor wants to do it. And you guys may be
I
interested
could
in
look up the
having some of that
photos.
anyway.
When it sold, 3 or 4 years ago,
Yeah.
there were some interior photos, so I could look
Yeah.
for those.
That's probably sufficient, I would imagine.
I imagine the build, as designers and builders, going to want to photograph. It's always nice to take before and after anyway. So I just recommend you guys do it, and then you can coordinate it with Stephen and our archivist or whatever. And I'd rather not send residents into home personally.
Okay, I'll take a
Got
crack
it.
at it, send them
Lovely.
over and see if you guys like it.
Okay, thanks.
So you'll send them to who?
I could send it to Nancy Wall.
Miss Pam?
That's who was
Okay.
emailing me.
All right, be sure to copy Andrea.
Okay.
Thank you.
Stephen,
Um,
not entirely relevant to this situation because it's too late. But it's really quite sickening what has happened with this house. And given that we are a historic district because of our Victorian homes, and I recognize this outside of the historic district and was not a contributing property, it really concerns me that we're in a position that we had to sit back and let this happen. And there are more Victorian Chevy houses, other valuable historic, not officially designated historic, but historic homes here in Garrett Park that we seem to have no ability to protect in our current state. So I'm wondering if the committee has put on its agenda any consideration for expanding the district, adding additional contributing properties, undertaking some effort to further protect the beautiful architecture of Garrett Park that existed before, 1980.
It's been
1900
discussed
even.
many times. It is a little bit tricky. The whole town is a National Register Historic District, but it really just kind of protects against the federal action. The county in its master plan for Garrett Park had that historic district, and I think there's 6 individual homes, and it was way before my time in town, but my understanding is it was pretty contentious going through that. One side was pretty extreme on property rights, the other side a little bit more extreme on wanting to preserve everything, and it was negotiated down in the middle. The Historic Preservation Committee has discussed it many times since then, over the last couple of years, trying to figure out what could happen. Leery of doing any sort of an architectural review board, which is what Town of Kensington has. Anything that's in their historic district gets reviewed. So it goes through an aesthetic review, but that's sort of a slippery slope. But who knows, maybe it comes to that in the future. But in the meantime, the goal of the committee has been to really push on outreach. So like the Richterville tour, that was an example of that. Like none of those homes are protected, even though they all are applicable to being historically protected now, over 50 years old. That was one of the reasons for that. And there's a lot of other kind of initiatives like that the committee is pushing. And they're also very eager to help any residents who have a house that's not in the historic list with the county, but is open to just having a dialogue, and can't beat the price because it's free. But that's kind of where we're stuck. That's just the weirdness of the law. It's not as if the house wasn't historic, it's just not on the historic list for the county. So you can get things in the county historic district that have no real architectural merit. They may be a cute little house, but they're in the historic district. They had to be reviewed by the county. You have something that could be from 1890 that's not in that district, and you can tear it down tomorrow, realistically.
Right.
Tomorrow,
So right now we're in
so.
so right now we're in the position that we have houses that have no historic value whatsoever inside the district that have to go through a level of review, but houses that do have historic value that go through no review whatsoever and can be torn down with almost, just a few very basic sign-offs, right?
Basically, yeah, it's treated like a house outside of Garrett Park. It's just a house in the county.
I've lived here for 25 years and I've not seen this come up on the public agenda for revisiting. I know it was contentious when the historic district was
Yeah.
But I don't think that should stop us for revisiting it and making sure that, yes, the current residents of this town who have completely overturned since almost entirely since the district was designated, is still in favor of keeping the limits where they are.
Okay, I'm going to interject here as chair of the council meeting. These are really good questions and a very important discussion. I'd like to recommend, for the sake of the schedule of this meeting and for the agenda items yet to come up, that, you know, perhaps Jerry Lee and Stephen, you can all decide on maybe bringing this as a discussion point to another council meeting and, you know, weigh in on it, maybe with some recommendations or whatever you'd like to do, take some steps down the road. But I think we've heard this. This is an important discussion, and let's move forward and you guys take an action on it for another council meeting. Okay. Sound good?
Yeah, I think that's fine, Kaki. I just think that
Okay.
when a house is being torn down, people notice.
I'm not disputing, Jerry Lee. We have an action actually on the table right now for us.
Absolutely.
And it's,
I don't want to take that
okay.
action without people recognizing that it concerns us to be forced to.
I think your points are made, Jerry Lee.
We have no
Thank you.
authority to really not allow this.
Pardon me?
We don't really have any authority to not.
No, I understand.
Permit.
I
And I just wanted
understand,
to
but
make
the
sure that
agenda
that
item
was
is an
really
action item for approving a demolition permit. Let's move ahead. I think you guys have brought something very important to the table here. Let's, you guys take some action for the next council meeting or another council meeting, and we can have this as an actual discussion on the agenda. But thanks for bringing it up. And could I have a motion on the action, please?
I did it earlier, but you know,
I second the motion, Stephen. I think we need to, with all due respect, I hope you build something really lovely. That is an absolute abomination what's there right now, and I walk past her every day. And so thank you for purchasing the blend, and please do something really, really special with it, guys. That you designers, architects on the call there. I see a box up there. Just do something nice. Don't build
We
another box. Please don't build a box. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, we won't. We have something really, really special in mind, and
Keep Garrett Park in mind, please. I know you love Garrett Park.
Yeah,
in mind.
I was going to
That's all.
say,
And
don't
other than that-
hesitate.
Other than that, I vote to demo it and build something wonderful. So,
And don't hesitate to reach out to Stephen, who's also on the land use committee. You might get some ideas. Okay. So all in favor, just say aye.
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 I hear ayes. And is there anybody who is no? Is there anybody who's going to abstain? Okay, so approved unanimously. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I think we have John Shirkey on the phone, who was probably not able to speak at the moment of the presentation by residents. John, are you able to signal by a chat or anything, or even by voice now?
Yeah, I'm on the call.
You can. Okay, John, you want to make a presentation?
Oh yeah, I just had a few remarks I wanted to make. If you have time for me to make those remarks.
Okay, yes, we do. If you can keep it to 5 or 10 minutes, that'd be appreciated. Thanks.
Oh sure, easily, sure. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is John Shirkey, and my wife Karen Coldis and I live at 10920 Claremont Avenue. That puts us about halfway between Strathmore Avenue and Porcupine Woods. We've been residents of Garrett Park for about 32, 33 years. It has come to my attention, over the last couple of months that there's still some interest on the part of certain council members of a product called FlexiPave. FlexiPave is a flexible, porous material that's often used for sidewalks. And I just wanted to make a few notes about that, because there had been a time a couple years ago when the new sidewalks were being installed in Garrett Park, that I brought this to the attention of the mayor, the then mayor, Peter Benjamin, and the town council, because when the new sidewalk was going in front of our home on Claremont Avenue, myself being a long part-time biologist as well as a natural resource manager. I'm always interested in new novel products that kind of help us minimize our footprint on the earth. And FlexiPave was something that I was aware of because I started to investigate alternative sidewalk materials because it seemed as though that was one of the things that was not really well investigated when they were planning out the new sidewalk projects in Garrett Park. And so we I made some phone calls, eventually got connected with a fellow named Noble Atkins, who's a very well-known arborist and tree preservationist in the Washington, D.C. area. He works extensively in communities like Tacoma Park. He has contracts with the White House and the federal government working down the botanical gardens, moving historic trees. And he's also done a lot of work down around Arlington Cemetery. He's got a really diverse portfolio. I had Noble invited him to Garrett Park at one point. He came out and made a presentation, a special presentation to the mayor and the town council, as well as any other residents who wanted to listen to him speak about this project. And it eventually resulted in other connections that I made with people in Tacoma Park, where they actually have FlexiPave down on some of their sidewalks, and also resulted in a visit that we made. Actually, Mayor Kaki and the former town manager Gene and I went down and spent an afternoon with the head lands manager at the Arlington National Cemetery, where they have several kilometers of FlexiPave installed. I just want to take this moment to just reiterate that this is a really cool product. It's made from recycled, chopped up, repurposed rubber. It's flexible, so it's often one of the reasons I like it at Arlington National Cemetery, because one, it's being a flexible surface that's actually very comfortable for people to walk on. And obviously at Arlington National Cemetery, there's a lot of foot traffic, as well as wheelchairs and other things that are passing over this material. They can't speak highly enough of it. It's also porous, so it helps water runoff. Water can pass through it and be absorbed at on the soil below it. This was something that was of interest to me living at Claremont, because at the time there were a lot of discussions about stormwater running down Claremont Avenue, and how a hard surface was just going to contribute to more runoff in the Porcupine Woods. And so there's that element of it. And also another reason they really like it at Arlington National Cemetery and other communities where they have a great interest in their trees is it's flexible and it's not a hard surface, so the tree roots can actually move and bend around underneath it, as well as have access to rainfall. So there's a lot of pros about FlexiPave. I know at the time Noble had actually offered to do a free installation in Garrett Park. I don't think there was enough support from the mayor at the time and the town council to do that, but I think he still has a standing offer to put in a section of sidewalk in Garrett Park so people can get familiar with the product. And
That's correct.
That's about what I wanted to share. So if there's any questions, I'll be happy to help. I'm a little rusty on FlexiPave because it's been a year or two since I was really talking to people a lot about it, but I do recall it, and I still have samples in my home if anybody's interested in getting their hands on a small piece to feel it and see it. So with that, I will close.
Thank you, John.
I'll be happy to answer them.
Yeah, I heard you say recycled rubber. Did you add the stone? There is also stone in there, right? There's aggregate in there, right? Stone aggregate mixed with the rubber, right?
That's right.
And Stephen also went to.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I didn't. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It comes in different colors. It comes in different colors too. So
Right.
Depending on what people are looking for.
I went to the presentation, but I missed the site visit for it. But I was already familiar with it. It wasn't the exact same product, but I used something similar about 20 years ago on a project. Recycled rubber has been around for quite a while. It's extensively used for playgrounds. I think we might even have it somewhere in Wells Park too, but I can't remember.
No, we don't.
But this, I knew I saw it somewhere around here, but I can't think where. But anyway, but this FlexiPave is a little bit different, and some of its competitors are a little bit different. They do have that aggregate in there, so it just makes it a little bit more of a wear layer. So it, and it is. John did a good kind of recap of what was discussed a couple years ago, but just wanted to make one slight correction. Other alternative sidewalk materials, my understanding is they were studied early on in that project, and they were found to be like cost prohibitive, and also a lot of worry about root damage, because to really make them work for stormwater, you have to dig like a foot or a foot and a half down. So you have to like dig a lot on in. Oh, you absolutely do. If you really want to store stormwater, you have to do that. But you can do it thinner, but it doesn't really make a big dent on. It'll hold up a light rain, but it won't hold a heavy rain. So that was part of what was discussed a couple years ago. But just wanted to clarify that because it was discussed as or explored as an alternate material for SRTS. I don't know how many years ago.
Thanks, Stephen. It was explored in 2018 in the spring before I was mayor. And it wasn't taken too serious. FlexiPave was, and it wasn't taken too seriously. And there was concern about the type of soil below the surface, and that it was either too muddy or it wouldn't percolate enough. But Noble has seen a lot of this. Yes, go ahead.
All right, no, sorry. This is becoming an infomercial for this. This is supposed to be a presentation of a resident. Let's just move on, please. Sorry.
Okay, that sounds great.
What's the point?
John, thank you very much for bringing this up. I appreciate it.
Sorry, Kathy. I just
Sure,
happy to
do that. And I'll just close by saying, if anybody really is interested in revisiting this issue, I suggest that I'd be happy to help them make contacts back with the arborist at Tacoma Park, and he can take people around to see it. And I know the folks at Arlington National Cemetery would be happy to host us again. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, John. Appreciate that. Okay, we are on new business. Andrea, we have refuse and recycling RFP. You want to speak to that?
Yeah, the RFP responses were due today. So just wanted to provide a quick update that we received one response. And so I anticipate getting back to you for the September council meeting with a recommendation and a request for approval for that contract. This is consistent with what the other towns around us have experienced when they've done an RFP for trash and recycling services. So even though we tried and we reached out to other vendors and it was posted on eMaryland and it was posted on our website, it's also not a huge surprise. So I will get back to you with more information at the September meeting.
Okay, thanks, Andrea.
Sure.
Okay.
Can we go?
Was there a question?
Yeah, can we go back to recycling on Monday?
Oh, we need to look at what was in the response. It just came in at 4 o'clock, so we haven't read what was in the proposal.
Okay, well, I just wanted to put it out there.
That's a preference of yours. Okay.
And I have another question. So since you got this and you haven't really had time to review it, is it possible that you might determine it's not acceptable and want to take another run at the procurement process? Or do you think that we're likely to just go forward with this because it meets basic needs?
I think
are you facing right now?
Yeah, I haven't again, I haven't reviewed it. I only like flipped through it. But my I don't know. I probably shouldn't comment, I think, actually. Even though I have an opinion on it, I think I probably should wait until I've really looked through it and until it's the public meeting in September.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Would it be an issue?
Donna, you got a question?
Extend the date? Yeah, would it be an issue to extend the date, or is that something that needs to be formally addressed or adopted?
I think that gets into different procurement challenges, and it would be right now. It would be too. It'd be too. What am I trying to say? Too early to do that. I need to. If I look through it and it's a complete response and it's consistent with what we anticipated in terms of our cost and it's consistent with the level of service that we've gotten, I think that's a different thing than if I review it and we don't have that. Does that make sense? So I think it's too early to sort of make that judgment.
Mm-hmm.
Valid question, Donna. Yes.
And having it extended even before reading it. I know public procurement, but I'm not sure about state or town. So I'm just asking questions. Thank you.
No, that's good. It's always a remedy to always, the ability to extend. Defer to Andrea. Thanks, Andrea. Anybody else? Okay. I just want to make a note on time. It's 8:03. And now we're going to talk, is there any on the council members' delegated responsibilities? Does anybody have any questions about that list? Are you all okay with it?
Yes, thank you.
Kathy, this is really, I don't think those were attached to the meeting notes. Do you want to very quickly list them verbally for the record and for the residents who otherwise won't know what we're talking about?
I don't want to do that because I wanted to post them once we have everybody's, input on them. So, because I didn't want to confuse residents that there might be changes. So, if you haven't, because I sent them out. I did send them out about a week ago, I think.
Right, to the council members. I'm only concerned about the other people on the phone who have no idea what we're referring to.
No, that's okay. This is a council business, and unless you all have questions and you want to go back and forth on it, and we can make the changes, then we'll go ahead and post this. That's how we're going to do this. Is that okay with you, Andrea? I mean, I didn't think we were going to. I just wanted to get, if you wanted a discussion about these, we could do it here at the council meeting. So otherwise we will post them on the website and we will make this as an addendum. But it's for you, we're delegating to you all. And if you want any changes, you please, I didn't hear any changes by email. So I'm asking now if you had any changes or.
I do have one question. I don't see clearly where liaison to the pool board is. Is it like a sub activity of one of these on the list?
I was going to suggest, I've typically done that job, and I was going to mention that, yeah, it wasn't on there, but I would take it.
I kind of, left this off because I felt that it was something that was really more between Andrea and anything that came up with the school board being sort of a nonprofit. It was not, it's not in our germane to really regulate the pool or the fees or anything. So I left it off, but it's up to you, Andrea. What would you like to do, really?
Yeah, I think it's also the kind of thing that if there's something that comes up, we can figure out if we need, if I need to liaise with Phil, I could, or if it's, more of a land use type issue, then I could, bring in Stephen, or, if there's anything pool related that comes up, there may be a different category it crosses over with too. It hasn't really been, there hasn't been all that much that we've had to work out, right?
Is that okay with you, Phil? I mean, I know you have historically been the liaison, but it's just one of those things that it's really like a business thing between, the town office really and the school board. It's not really a council thing.
Just for clarification, we're talking about the pool. The pool board.
Mm-hmm.
Pool.
Yeah.
Pool,
Mm-hmm.
as in swimming pool.
Yeah, and that's
okay.
Regulated, managed by the pool board.
I thought I heard you say school board, so I just wanted to.
I kept hearing that too. I kept hearing school, like a educational school. So.
No, pool.
Okay.
Okay, I'm fine with that outcome. I just wanted to understand better. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so if there's no other discussions, I mean, you have a few more days if you want to bring something up and let me know, let me and Andrea know. Otherwise, we'll give it a few days and then we'll post it on the website and have it as an addendum with the minutes. Okay. Okay, thanks, everybody. Let's go to the next new business item, and that's about Waverly and Oxford sidewalks. Some of you may have been in the loop on requests by certain residents to make sure that this is going to be done. We've talked about it for a few years. We've had it as a priority item, as a project, and I am in full agreement. So is Andrea. So we are looking hopefully at maybe this fall. I'd like to do it this fall, late summer, this fall, to get these done. You may recall, we actually had Waverly priced out long before the SRTS sidewalk ever started. So I don't think it's a heavy lift. I think it's something we can take care of.
Would it go basically
This
off the sketches that Khaki that you and I reviewed with the engineer last year? I think it was like last spring. We were looking at kind of like relationship to the curb, and
This is on Oxford, Stephen, right?
yeah, that was
On
Oxford,
Oxford,
and we
yeah.
talked about Waverly with them too. I think
Didn't do
about
too
what
much with
material
Waverly.
and curb and so on and so forth.
Well, I'm pretty much thinking it's going to be concrete. I mean, we're going to follow
Okay.
concrete from Waverly up by the Triangle down to Montrose to meet that ramp.
Mhm.
So
So
I know some
concrete-
people
concrete
wouldn't like
both.
it, but
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, we've got concrete coming, you know, along Montrose where it intersects with Oxford, and make that continuation up to Kenilworth. So that's what I was thinking. I mean, FlexiPave for the 50 feet, linear feet of FlexiPave, I think the best, well, I'm open to maybe doing some kind of a survey or write-in, get some residents' ideas, your ideas maybe, and see where it might be the best place to place it. I know there's a few different places people have talked about, but I don't want to use it along the Oxford or Waverly. I want to make that the continuity of concrete, much as we are not always in favor of it, but just to make it continuous. So
It would be
that's where I'm
helpful
at
in
with it.
helpful in that Oxford block to move it closer to the street like we had looked at last year, because it's really close to that one house. So
I think we might be able to do that. Yeah.
the
Anyway,
FlexiPave is-
that's all I wanted to bring up, is that it's being talked about among some residents, and you know, Andrea and I are in full agreement, and council, you've had that as a priority item for the budget the last couple of years. So it's something we do want to get done. Maybe we can do it this fall. That's my hope. That's my plan. Just let me know.
So just so it's clear, are you, what would be the next steps to actually proceed with Oxford and Kenilworth in terms of like procurement, engineering?
Well, I think we actually have a couple contractors, vendors who had actually given us estimates way back. And I think depending on those price points, you know, I think what we would do is maybe put out a call just to get some ideas of design. Stephen, I'm very happy to include you along that Oxford especially, but see what we can get. We might be able to do this on a short, 1 week procurement solicitation. We have the linear feet for both, and we know the material. So, we don't have to go through a lot of bureaucratic forms like we have done with SRTS. I think it should go pretty smoothly. So first order of business would be to make sure we've got kind of the design we want. Stephen, I'm willing to get you more involved with just sort of a conceptual sketch. I don't think it needs engineering from Clark Azar. I don't want to waste that kind of time. Stephen, you have a good idea what you wanted. So did I. I agreed with you when you were mentioning some of the ideas, especially along Oxford. So I think if we sketch that out and we put that out to several, vendors, get a price point, you might be able to go a little bit faster.
it should be pretty quick for them to put together drawings, because they really just need the plan. And they would be able to use a lot of details they already have from SRTS. You're just moving them to a different sheet, and they don't have to do all their other estimating and so on and so forth. But it's usually the way it's done. It's just pretty quick and dirty drawing.
Just wondering, though, a quick question about doing that process. Since we had so many issues with the contractor on SRTS following, with technical issues and timelines, if we don't have engineered drawings, are we putting some risk out there for ourselves? Being able to hold a contractor accountable to building to a design?
I think so. You wouldn't have much to argue back on, and it gets tricky with slopes and everything else. If you don't have a drawing that shows how it's all supposed to work to code, if the
All right.
contractor does
I'll
it how
talk-
they think it's gonna
Yeah,
work.
I'm very
Yeah, I'll
uncomfortable with us having engineers.
I'll
drawing.
talk with Andrea about this. I mean, everybody knows that there's supposed to be 2% positive slope. It's not like they're going to be put out there and left on their own to do it. I figured I was going to be involved in going over and making sure that they're doing it correctly. There was a lot of over design, overbuild, all that kind of stuff with SRTS. I know Clark Azar is very busy with other stuff. So we'll see. We'll see what the timelines are. I don't think there's a huge risk unless you really would like to go with FlexiPave so that we're not having a lot of heaving. But I think
It's the same risk.
Yeah, we're going to have the problem with concrete. So anyway,
Yeah, I
this
think
is all what you guys wanted. So that's where we're heading.
Khaki, I think, I mean, I hear you saying, I think Jerry's got a good point. I mean, listen, I like the fact that I like getting it done, which has been on a long time. But if we move in haste, it can come back to bite us. You know that, so just, because then you're finger pointing and everyone's.
It's also dollar size, guys. This is not expensive.
It's fine. I think
SRTS became $1 million project.
No, I know that.
Had a lot of stakeholders. I know that it was $43,000 for Waverly. You could almost do that almost on a credit card. You can't. 35,000 is the limit on a credit card, but
maybe your credit card.
That's how. Yeah, not mine.
I'm kidding, Jackie.
Anyway, points are. I hear you, and I'll talk with Andrea and see, whether Jason's even available to do this quick. He does a lot of work. He does a lot of overbuild, and sometimes it's necessary. But I don't know about this one.
And
Okay.
With both.
All right.
Of them, no, not okay. With both of them.
Who's speaking? Who's speaking?
This is Phil.
Phil, it's
Phil,
hard to
do you
hear
have
you,
your
Phil.
Camera on, Phil?
I can turn my camera on. I've been having problems with my internet, but I believe that we need to involve engineering. I think that it would be crazy not to. I mean, hopefully, like Stephen had said, what they can basically do some cut and paste from some standard size stuff that they've already done. But I think that in both of these projects, we need to have engineering involved to make sure it's done correctly. We got all the I's dotted and the T's crossed. And yes, unfortunately, it's going to cost more money, but I think it's in the long run, it will suit us better if we do it that way. The other thing I got to ask is that, do we have the budget? Because we still haven't gotten through with doing everything down at the.
We lost you, Phil. What? This is under a different line item, Phil. So yes, we have the budget. I can't hear you, but just to the question you asked, yes, we have the budget.
I think his Wi-Fi froze.
Yeah.
Welcome to
Yes.
2021.
In order to do the RFP for an infrastructure project, I feel strongly we need engineering stamped.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, everybody. We'll look into that. Okay. All right. 8:17 town update. Jerry Lee, you want to talk about Arboretum and then you want to follow with 5G cell.
Thank you. Very quickly, the Arboretum Committee did take a couple of months off in terms of actual meetings, but a lot of tree work has been going on, as Andrea can attest to, completing the ongoing pruning work and preparing for further, the RFP and procurement process for the new contractors that we talked about last week for the town to have on standby for our pruning work. And then there have also been a lot of weather lately with tree branches and trees down. But for the July meeting, which is next Wednesday, the 21st, it will be an in-person meeting at Town Hall. So it's our first time as a committee meeting in person since the coronavirus pandemic started. we'll be discussing the fall planting plan, the open space list, and education and communication with town residents. So there's an opportunity there for residents to interact with the Arboretum Committee if they would like to. And then I think in Andrea's town manager update, she has a few more things about the contract actions that she'll be updating on. In terms of the 5G, oh, I'll pause for a moment in case there are any questions. For the 5G update, I just wanted to alert everyone that the county council will be including a work session on the zoning text amendment for small cell towers tomorrow, July 13th, during their county council meeting. This is one item on a full day's agenda. This particular agenda item appears on their agenda, which is posted on the county council's website and their calendar. The work session is noted to be at 2:40 p.m. If anyone would like to tune in, they do broadcast. They will be reviewing the updated draft, which was not yet available last month, but you can look at the staff report and updated draft on the county council site. And as we discussed last month, what we were hearing is true. They want to allow for small cell towers to be added to existing poles, or a replacement pole where one already was, up to within 30 feet of residential property. So I think that's one element of this that it has a lot of people concerned. So I just wanted to point that out. And then I think once we see where this is, it's not clear that there would be a vote because it's a work session, but once we're clear where the county is going with this, we may want to review our own ordinance that the council passed in 2019 to see if we want to update it based on the recent litigation and the county's actions. So I just wanted to give that quick update today. Thank you.
Quick question, Jerry Lee, is it 30 feet from the property lines or 30 feet from the structure?
From the building, as far as I understand it, but it would have to be, they would have to have the right of way, I believe, to put in the tower. They can't just put it on your property.
Yeah, I guess we just have a lot of poles that are by the sidewalks, and then that's within feet of all the property lines. So
right, that's
curious.
the concern, is where there's already public right of way. But these are where there are existing towers. The 30 feet is for existing towers or replacement towers, not new towers. That would.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I guess for us, it's all existing towers or existing poles they would be putting on there, right? Wasn't it for existing telephone poles, or is this a whole separate structure? I thought a couple of years ago they were talking about putting their equipment right onto an existing utility pole. Is that no longer the case?
I think they're trying to make use of existing utility poles wherever possible, but I don't think they're bound to. They can propose new towers where they need additional coverage, because one of the issues with 5G is that it requires more closer together poles.
Okay. Conspiracy theorist to me has me thinking that they're slowing it down on purpose lately to get everybody to support this 5G more, but I wonder.
All right, thanks. And we'll make sure to get information out after the county meeting.
Okay, thanks, Jerry Lee. Let's go, Phil, to stormwater.
So we've had, since the last meeting, we've had contractors come over and visit. We put out a request for proposal, a request for bid to do I'll call it the second phase, which is basically the realignment and treatment of the stream bed that runs behind Kennedy's and Heinzen's. And it's been out on the Maryland public website. And basically we've got 2 people that I know of so far that have looked at it. Questions are due a week from today, and then the bid opening is supposed to be on July 27th. And the next phase of this, which we've been talking about, between Chuck and I and Jason and Andrea and others is the
Andrea, can you mute everybody?
Yeah, we're getting some feedback.
call it, and then
If
also
you're not muted, can you mute yourself? Elizabeth, are you muted?
okay. Do you need me to go back?
Nope, keep going, Stephen. Phil, sorry.
Okay, no problem. So we've got 3 proposals for the bike path, basically, that we're looking at, and Jason's trying to finalize getting some numbers on. One is going to be to replace the existing pipe with a larger pipe, diameter pipe. The other one's what they call concrete box culvert, but we'd set it up in such a way that it would look as if it were a bridge. And then the third one is an actual bridge. In addition to all this work, we're also starting to look at redoing some of the drainage that's along Claremont, especially that goes into Porcupine Woods, which would include the possibility of putting in larger pipes to handle the flow and changing the size of the drain and so forth. And that's
You mean the size of the pipe?
the size of the pipe is going to be changed. It's going to be would be
Okay.
larger.
Under the road, under
Under-
Claremont?
Yep.
Okay.
It's going to
Wow, great.
it's going to be
06 will be happy.
it'll be right. It's going to be basically
Looking at it though, sorry, I just want to, okay.
Mhm. Yeah,
looking
starting to look at it. Got it.
starting to investigate. So there's been some preliminary stuff out there, but it would be larger pipe, much larger pipe, larger drains and so forth. I have some questions on it, but we're just starting to look. So that's where we are.
Great, thank you. Okay. Thank you, Phil. Stephen, do you want to talk about town hall?
Yeah, I can
Renovation.
keep it pretty quick too. I had a bunch of discussions lately, and Debbie Sandlin's been working on putting together a draft RFP, and we were just talking about it earlier today. In fact, and one of the big things we're trying to solve for is trying to find a way to get not just a design concept done for it to really bring that to a public meeting, but to kind of link it together, ideally to have something where it could be a team of architects, engineers, and contractor to get from let's start here with the concepts and get all the way to finishing the construction and kind of keep those decisions going all the way through. May or may not be doable. I mean, it's very common if you already know like this is our project. We know we're definitely doing this where we have 3 options. That's what I'm trying to like work out to kind of see if there's a potential to do it. We would keep it where it would have an out for the town. If say we're unhappy with the consultant, we could always opt out of it, but something to be able to kind of keep the momentum going all the way through. Get it up for public review, get the town on board, and then just keep on rolling, that sort of a thing.
So you may have some multiple roles in there for this initial architect for design and concept, that there may be more roles for this architect that you'll have to write into the
for sure.
RFP.
Yeah. So they'd be doing the concept
Right.
as kind of like a first step, and then I've been on the other side of the table doing these kind of contracts before, where you do the first step is the concepts and schematics, and if that's approved by whoever your client is, then move into the construction documents, but kind of get that the architect and engineers and the contractor to kind of merge so you can get more certainty on your pricing. You're not waiting until you're done design to put it out to bid. You've got a better handle on pricing early on. That would be ideal if we can do it, but like I was saying, it's just trying to work out how that could happen. We don't end up trying to do something that's a little bit too ambitious doing that if we have too many options. So if we can find the right spot where we get, move off the options, then have something that's definable enough to move forward, and then it'll work. So that's kind of what we're working on.
Makes it a bigger contract. Okay. All right. Thanks, Stephen. Mario, what do you have on archives? What's going on?
Thanks, Jackie. Well, Thanks once again to Claire McDonald. She just sends me a very nice, thorough summary. So it makes my life very easy. So I can't take any credit for all the hard work that she does and the volunteers do in the archives. But a couple of quick things. One is they are putting together a collection of video and photographs from Independence Day from this past 4th of July. So if anyone has anything they want to share, you can reach out to me, or you can reach out to Claire McDonald. She's trying to collect that for this year and for past years to collect a nice montage of the history of July 4th in this town, which has always been pretty special. And so, unfortunately, I did miss it this year, but also a reminder that there is a nice exhibit of the Garrett Park, the Garrett Players Collection, which was it was a town's theater group in the 1950s and 60s. So there's a nice exhibit going on currently in the post office lobby. So that's nice to check out. And then also, Claire's done a good job of trying to keep the town archives open on Fridays. So if anyone was in the post office during the business hours, the door has been open. So if you are of interest and you want to check it out, if the sign usually says open, you're welcome to stop inside and check out all the great work that that Claire and all the folks before her and are doing, because it really is pretty special. That's what I have, Kaki.
Thank you. Mario, do you have any more specifics on hours on Friday that she might be available, or is this just sort of if you catch it open?
It's based on her schedule.
Okay.
I was in this
Andrea maybe knows.
Yeah, maybe Andrea knows. It's sort of, I don't have any hours particularly. I just know that when she's trying to make herself available and keep the door open. But I don't know, Andrea, do you know anything?
She's been here the last couple Fridays. I would say if people come in, not too early and not too late in the day, I don't want to be super vague, but if you're here, I don't know, maybe after 10, but you're not trying to find her after, maybe between 10 and 3 or something would be the best time to try and get her.
Okay.
And she will take appointments based on her schedule, if that's something that if someone really wants a private tour.
Can we give the email address out for the right now on the?
Yeah, I believe it's archives@garrettparkmd.gov. So archives@garrettparkmd.gov.
Right. Yep. Archives plural. Yep.
Archives, right, with an S. Yes.
Okay, that's great. That might be helpful, and just a rough timeline of hours. But thank you. That gives residents some notice of how to contact her and when to show up. Okay, thank you. Donna, do you have anything you want to talk about with the American Rescue Plan? And if people need a sort of a refresher on that, I'm sure Andrea could also chime in. So whichever way you want to go, if you want to start this, Donna. This is a new responsibility we've delegated to Donna, and that's why it's on the town update now. So it's kind of new for everybody. If you want to kind of give your idea, what kind of role we're looking at you for, Donna, and then what's going on.
Okay. Well, first off, let's talk about what it's called, so we're all on the same page, because I've seen a bit of back and forth going on. So we have what you call the American Rescue Plan. That is the plan that is accepted by government. And the funds we are talking about, they're called the Corona State and Local Fiscal Recovery Funds. And sometimes you'll see them titled as Fiscal Recovery Funds, period. But they are not the same thing. One's the plan and the other is the actual process through which we are applying for reimbursed funds under said plan. So we've got that out of the way. Thanks to Andrea, who did an awesome job of getting me up to speed on some of this, and for Kaki knowing that I'm a bit of a enthusiast when it comes to research. So if you want too much information, ask me, I'll probably know it. So the town office has submitted paperwork to the state under these plans. We have no answer just yet. And comments are due, public comments are due by the 16th of this month, at the end of this week. After that, we should know more about our eligible plans. There is an FAQ online that addresses some of the questions that RFPs like this have a time frame for, if anybody's curious. And the date that was the last submitted date was June 24th. So they're pretty up to date. One most recent change, actually, and thanks again to Andrea, as of July 7th, there might be a little bit of change in regards to budget. The original fiscal recovery funds application process stated that it did not include capital expenditure funds, but now they include both operating and capital expenditure funds. Not sure if that's going to have an impact on us and or if we have to submit another submission to the process, an edited version of our budget in order to make sure that we're getting the amount of funding that we're looking for. I'm hoping to go through all the FAQs and grant documents to get something easy for us to follow up on and use perhaps as a checklist to decide how to apply for these funds and how best to use them for the town.
Okay, thank you, Donna. And your intent, as we've all kind of talked about a little bit, is, at some point we may have residents on working groups or what have you, as far as what projects might be eligible, right. And of course, priority of those projects. And all of this is so open-ended right now. We just don't even know what's eligible. Correct?
Right.
Right. Okay. And you said the comments are July 7th. And this is the notice of public ruling of comments, what we call in federal government NOPR, NOPR, but comments. So this is anybody. It's not pertaining specific to the town. It's anybody who has comments on this financial funding. Is that what it is? The comments are for?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
July
fund
16th.
specifically, not the plan.
Yeah, the funding. And you said 6th, July 6th?
16th.
16th.
Oh, 16th. I don't know how okay, great. Oh yeah, I know what 7th was for. Okay, great. All right, so we'll keep this going. See, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of involvement here. I appreciate you taking it on, Donna.
Oh, pleasure. Anybody, any questions?
So this is Phil. Did we make a submission for something, or what exactly did we send anything in?
We had to, by June 30th, send in an email to the state saying that we wanted to accept the funds, and this is what council approved at the June meeting. So it was an application that probably more involved than one would think, because we don't do this all the time. So we didn't have certain things
information.
Well, yeah, like a sam.gov account. There were certain accounts we had to apply for and get and all
A
that.
DUNS
Right?
account.
So it took a little bit of time, but it wasn't anything too terrible. Maybe a half a day or a day. So that's been submitted. And next, what Donna was referring to is that we'll submit a revised budget numbers now based on the fact that capital can now be included. The last estimated amount that they shared with us, if that's really our number, it won't make a difference if capital is included or not, because we're not close to, we have a 75% cap, and we weren't at that cap anyway for our operating budget, if that makes sense. So it's not clear to me if that's going to make a difference or not, but obviously we're going to submit it just in case there's an opportunity to potentially have more money than we otherwise would have. The towns in Maryland, I can tell you, had a lot of confusion about why the capital budget wasn't included. And I think a lot of us had some sidebars with the consulting firm that's working with the state on this, where we explained to them, this is how our budget works here. It's not like a large city where a capital budget is a very different thing. There are things that you're thinking about when you're asking about our operating budget that are actually in our capital budget for a lot of the smaller towns. So maybe they've heard that everywhere. And maybe that's part of why there was a change. I'm not sure, but.
That's interesting, considering that it's broken down into like towns that have 50,000 people or less, and then larger metropolitan areas. You would have thought that they take
Yeah.
that into consideration.
Yeah, yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, Jerry.
Thank you. Donna and Kaki, I was just wondering, given that we don't have a meeting in August, what the proposed timeline for putting a work group to support Donna on this project is.
Well, I don't think
Residents
according to
in
the
to support you.
time. Thank you.
Go ahead.
I appreciate that. Jackie, go ahead. You probably have a good
No,
idea, and I
I-
haven't discussed this with you yet.
Yeah, I didn't think we'd do anything until until it's a little bit more firmed up. First of all, we don't know what projects are eligible to start with. We don't know what even the parameters of eligibility is. And of course, the money, we don't really know yet. So I didn't see anything happening, at least in August, but I defer to Andrea and Donna.
Yeah, I would especially before getting residents involved and asking for their time, I would like to have the final guidance and like to know how much money that we have that we're working with. And right now, you know, we have the interim guidance and we have been given an estimate of the funds, but we don't really know until we have it. So.
And we still don't know eligibility of requirements. What would be really eligible or not? I mean, they're working on that, right?
They have a
Yeah.
ballpark, but not very
Yeah.
specific. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I'm especially curious to see how or if the guidance related to stormwater changes between the interim and the final guidance. It seems like it's going to be a pretty universal question, I think, from local governments on wanting to have broader flexibility related to stormwater. So that's one that I'm particularly keeping an eye on. And the funds can be used going back to March of this year. So that will also be important for us.
I mean,
Thanks. Yeah, I
stormwater
just
is one of
wanted
the
to
top 5 aspects that they cover.
I'm sorry, what, Donna?
I said stormwater is one of the top 5 types of funds that they're willing to support.
Yeah, there's
reimbursement for.
some caveats in there. So we just I'm curious to see how those caveats sort of shake out.
So Andrew, we don't have a timeline on the details yet, right? This is still being worked out over the next couple of them.
Yeah, I think we, it's possible that we may receive the funds before we see the final guidance. If the comments are due July 16th, Kaki, I don't know if you have a sense of timeline for this, but I would think it would be at least at a minimum 2 weeks and probably more like 4 to 6 weeks until that final guidance is ready. I'm guessing, I don't know.
Yeah,
So
I think so. I mean, if the comments are that late, there's often another long period to compile and to review. Right. So, and then discuss. So NOPR's notice of public rulings take a while.
No, I
haven't been involved in those. So.
All right, go ahead, Jerry.
I was just going to say, just for clarification, I believe this is an interim final rule, which means it's effective now and it can be used. It's in effect. And then when it goes final, it might expand eligibility or whatever, but there are eligible activities because it is urgent. If there are urgent public health needs that we have, some of the things that we talked about last month, like cleaning related things, enhanced, disinfecting, that might fit this need. If we're no longer able to get that funded by other sources, we could set aside to request this funding for. So I just wanted to make sure that we're clear that for public health urgent needs, this is available now with an interim final rule. I'm not
sure. And as Andrea mentioned, it can be a reimbursement retroactively. So I don't see this as urgent. And August is often a time when a lot of residents are away. So I don't imagine pulling anything together.
Yeah, that's not what I was
in September.
That's not what I was
okay. All right. Anyway, is there anything else then? Okay. So Andrea, would you like to give an update on your financial report and manager's report?
Yep, you bet. June revenues, operations and capital budgets are at expected levels, and total revenues and expenses are within projections. And what this means is that the revenues are not less than what we projected and our expenses are not more than what we projected. The June monthly financial report is the preliminary June financial report. So this is not final. We'll be continuing to close out June and close out the fiscal year over the next couple months, likely sometime in August. So, we're continuing to pay invoices every day for things that occurred during FY21. So I will come back to you when I have the June final report. You'll see that. There was one new building permit that's listed in my report. I have a procurement update here as well. So we're continuing to work through various RFPs. Trash was due today. The drainage at Rokeby, as Phil mentioned, is July 27th. Penn Place painting, the specs are under development. The Penn Place space study, I think we're really close there. And that's looking at the third floor space. And I will mention that our tenant just moved out on Friday, that little office that's on the third floor, and they'll be, they paid for the month of June. So as of August, that space will be empty now. And then the other ones are the town hall concept drawings that Stephen spoke about. And then a copier printer lease is still under development. We submitted our property and liability insurance. Sorry, I was laughing because of your cat, Jerry, not because insurance is hilarious. And then town maintenance staff continue to work on regular summer activities. So we're just keeping on in the town office.
Andrea, quick question on the tenant that just moved out. So aside from the post office and the restaurant, how many tenants do we have beside in the office space?
Yeah, in Penn Place now, it's just the post office and the restaurant. So this, and then this tenant through the end of July.
And are we suspending proactive looking for residents until until tenants until a certain time that we feel
that's what this space study is. So this was brought up, trying to think,
about a year ago.
Maybe more. Yeah. About how to deal with this. So we're going to have, we have some specs that are created, and we'll have a consultant come in and look at the space here and talk to us about what our needs are. So things like storage, town records, that sort of thing, and make recommendations based on the space that we have and the needs of the town office, and see what's suggested there. And the other piece of this is that the bond on this building is all the debt is almost paid off on this building. So
yeah, that's great. That's 55,000 savings.
So I hope to have more on that soon. I think that is we're about ready to start reaching out to folks and getting some ideas on cost and figuring out who we want to hire for that. And then hopefully have something for you maybe by the September meeting.
One more question. It seems like this is the best place to ask this question because you're presenting, the current state of the town budget with your manager's report each month. Do you think when we meet in September or between now and September, you could provide us a proposed schedule for the fiscal year 23 budget? We're in 22 now. So 23 budget, so that we can make sure that in September we agree to a schedule so that we don't get behind. I think last year we were so busy with so many things like SRTS and coronavirus and all of that. And then you had your maternity leave. We all had a difficult time getting a schedule in place in a timely way that we could really dig into the budget like we would have liked to. So I just want to make sure that we set a schedule early enough this time that we don't have that.
I think the last couple of years, Khaki, I think maybe we did a February work session. Does that seem right? February or March, maybe work session.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this
That's
last year,
right.
just with my maternity leave, I mean, it was very challenging to even get the mid-year ready in time. I started working out while I was still on maternity leave, and to get that introduced and adopted, and then on the heels of that to introduce and adopt FY22 budget, it just wasn't, it wasn't possible to do it in a way that would have been meaningful or a good use of time, basically.
Understood.
but,
And we
yeah,
all agreed to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we also discussed, not last year, but the year before, that it would have been ideal for us to be able to have the budget process moved up by a month so that the new council members who are voted in every year in May are not being asked to vote on a budget that they had not participated in the process. If I think that we definitely had that discussion. We couldn't enact it that year. And next year, COVID came up and disrupted our planning process again. So I'd like to ask that you look at that and see if it's possible for us to move it so that it would be a more logical process for the new council members who've just been voted in May, what we're asking them to review and vote on.
For a March introduction and an April adoption, then would have to be that time.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good plan. So just so everybody knows, FY22 starts on July 1st.
Mm-hmm.
FY21 ends June 30th. So we have a mid-year correction around December for FY22. And we do hope, I think it might be prudent to have some kind of a work meeting even before that or during that time frame, Andrea, to talk about the surplus, talk about what we'll probably have is that, what was that title you called it, Donna, for the COVID relief, financial relief funding. So it would be timely, probably in November, maybe or December late, but November timeframe for a mid-year kind of discussion.
Yeah, and I wonder if timing maybe.
And of course, to have the end of year books closed. So, November or December, right?
Exactly, for that. Right. And also with town hall, Stephen, with what you're pulling together, if that timing could possibly be good timing there as well. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fun. I think it's a great idea, Kaki, and generally getting anything in advance as possible. And if we can, I know it's only July, but by the time we get to September, if we're going to lock in a fall date with all the craziness in our lives in November and December, let's try to find a date. If it's not, because I assume this is not happening during a council meeting, it's a private closed session, working session, right? So,
well, it would be.
Or is it part of a town council meeting?
No, it definitely.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. It's a work meeting,
okay.
But it's also open to the public.
Okay.
In case, for policy decisions.
Fair enough. Not fair enough. That's fine. But it'd be separate from a town council, like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bonus.
Right, Andrea?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, work sessions are a different kind of public meeting, but they're still public meetings.
Okay.
We'll do, Mario. We'll see if we can get organized ahead of time.
Just selfishly asking because my tribal schedule for September to December is cuckoo. So I don't want to miss it. So.
Okay, sure. Okay, without further ado, I think the meeting is adjourned. And the time, Andrea, it's 8:51. Thank you, everybody. Have a great month off. Enjoy the rest of the summer, and we'll see you in September.
Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Same to everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.